The most senior Republican official in Congress, the Republican Senate leader, caught on tape, his own recordings no less, describing his party's presidential nominee, Donald Trump, as a, quote, despicable person.
We've known for some time now that Mitch McConnell is no fan of Donald Trump, but according to an upcoming book, Mitch McConnell had even more harsh words for the de facto leader of the GOP than we realized. And be sure to stick around because, the best part of this story is that Mitch McConnell has responded to the comments in the new book that he has said. Before we get there, though, let's hear more of what McConnell had to say about Trump.
A new book by Associated Press Washington bureau chief Michael Tackett reveals this, quote, Mitch McConnell said after the 2020 election that then President Donald Trump was, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered, a, quote, despicable human being, and a, quote, narcissist. And he said all that. That's what Mitch McConnell thought of Donald Trump before the insurrection. More from the AP. Privately, McConnell said in his oral history that, quote, it's not just the Democrats who are counting the days until Trump left office, and that Trump's behavior only underscores the good judgment of the American people. They've had just enough of the misrepresentations, the outright lies, almost on a daily basis. And they fired him. And for a narcissist like him, McConnell continued, that's been really hard to take. Now, before those Georgia runoffs, McConnell said Trump is, quote, stupid as well as being ill-tempered and can't even figure out where his own best interests lie.
Damn.
Yeah, so despite McConnell's private feelings about Trump, he has, of course, publicly endorsed him for the president of the United States, even though he is all these terrible, terrible things, including a narcissist. When asked about his comments in the upcoming book, this is what Mitch McConnell had to say. He said, whatever I may have said about President Trump pales in comparison to what J.D. Vance, Lindsey Graham, and others have said about him, but we are all on the same team now. In other words, don't worry about what I'm saying over here. They're all just as bad, if not worse than me. It's really, really sad because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Mitch McConnell has said about Donald Trump because he is the guy on the ballot still. And, at least in part, he's on that ballot because people like Mitch McConnell allowed him to get such a strong foothold in the Republican Party, or they didn't do enough to stop him. I don't know what they could have done. Maybe there was nothing. A lot of the Republicans who were opposed to Donald Trump initially, they had to kind of fall in line behind him because the public was so vocal in their support for him. But Sharon, what do you think? Is this going to change anything for anybody, or this is really nothing new, though?
Well, it's nothing new in a couple of points. I think Mitch McConnell is stupid, and I think he's despicable. I think Mitch McConnell is despicable because if he really believed all those things, why did he vote to keep this monster safe? Why did he protect him so much? Mitch McConnell could have easily lost his life too. I think he's probably a narcissist as well. This great architect, this lion of the Senate. He's not great. He's a wimp. And if he was such an architect, he would have figured out how to get rid of this virus called Donald Trump. The other thing is, I don't believe that these are leaks or accidentally overheard statements. I think this is an attempt to have your cake and eat it too, to rewrite history, to be against all the bad, but there for what they deem the good. Oh, well, we got this conservative Supreme Court. Mitch McConnell needs to go have several seats. We know who Donald Trump is. What about who you are, Mitch?
Thank you, Sharon. Oh my God, this guy Mitch McConnell bragged about how he helped Donald Trump stack the Supreme Court so they could do all these things that they're now doing. One main thing being Roe versus Wade currently right now. Bragged about how he made sure to block Obama's appointment so that he can usher in Donald Trump. When asked if you do the same thing for Donald, or as far as Donald Trump, and then the next election coming up, he said, absolutely not, because I was setting this whole thing up to help promote exactly what I want to do. Mitch McConnell has a history of one of his main objectives being to flip the court, because that does many things across the board. So also when he went after his Mitch McConnell's wife and called her a bunch of racist names because she's Chinese, all these things just stacked on top of themselves. He was another Ted Cruz. He doesn't care because what he was putting in place was his own positions of power. Now that he's leaving, he's retiring now because he can no longer speak. He was still the reason why he helped try to get by anything that Donald Trump did with January 6th, after admitting that it was Donald Trump's fault, was because he was concerned about those last 2 Senate seats that they did lose in Georgia. Because Mitch McConnell, guess what body he's part of? Senate. He didn't want to lose his power as the lead of the Senate. That was his issue. And when that went away, he's like, okay, I've got nothing else to do here. I've gotten all these Supreme Court justices in that flipped everything that we're hoping to flip. And I lost my power over the Senate. I don't need to be here anymore. He doesn't care. And by the way, he said, we're on the same team now. Is he talking about he's on the same team with Lindsey Graham and those other guys now, or he's not on the same team with Donald Trump? Because Lindsey Graham and those guys are back on Donald Trump's team, just like you are, Mitch.
Yeah, it's party over country, and it always has been with a lot of these Republicans. Mitch McConnell, in a lot of ways, is kind of the poster child for that sentiment. And you're absolutely right. He just wanted somebody who is a Republican, so they can say, we have the majority, we have the executive branch, we have the congressional branch, we have all these things, and we even have the judicial branch. De facto, like we basically own the Supreme Court at this point as the Republicans. And it's really sad because somebody like Mitch McConnell is going to come out and say all these things. Maybe he'll deny it. He didn't really deny it. He just said, yeah, I said it, but they also said other stuff. But what we're going to see, what I imagine we will see once Donald Trump is no longer in our public political life, however that happens, whenever that happens, a lot of people are going to come out and say, I never liked him, and they're going to want to sell a book. And I'm saying you should just not buy those books because they're obvious cash grabs. And these people don't deserve to be rewarded for not saying anything or for saying something after the fact. Like, congratulations, you said the thing that we all knew, and you were the one who was in a position to do something about it, about all these terrible things, about how terrible of a person he is, about how terrible of a leader he would be to the American people, not just to the people in this country, but around the world, because the United States impacts so many people around the world. Everybody knows that. And, it's very cowardly. I think that's the word I'm going to go with. It's very cowardly to sit back after the fact and say, I always knew this was a bad idea. I never liked it to begin with. Yeah, but you supported it and you didn't speak out when you could have. You didn't do anything when you could have because you wanted the power that came with it. Any final thoughts from either of you before we wrap up this first hour?
Sharon, you always got something to say.
Well, and I'll go quick then. I think they should all shut up. Don't buy any of their books. That goes for Kevin McCarthy, Mike Pence, who is not a hero. Okay, you palled around with this bigot, this misogynist, this disgusting person. Okay, you palled around with him and hitched your giddy up because you wanted personal gain. You thought one day you would occupy the Oval Office. You'd be set up just beautifully. Forget about, I think even people like Cassidy Hutchins and Alyssa Farrow. They're not heroes. They stayed until the Titanic was going down. He was racist. He was ignorant. He did all of these disgusting things. People died because of this guy and his mishandling deliberately of COVID. So I don't think any of these people deserve their spots on The View or their publicity tours, their book tours, and liberal media propping them up. These people need to make amends, not money.
Yeah.
As we see stuff go down, we'll see how it works. The last thing this guy was saying was he's against Trump's and his tariff plan, because I think that'd be a bad idea. He said it's so milquetoast and so bland, it wasn't even a point to make. So that's talking about the future of the country and the things that this guy wants to implement. If anyone heard Mitch McConnell talk about the tariff plan, it was for about 4 to 5 seconds, and that was it. He doesn't say a lot because he honestly doesn't care. It's about himself.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.